We'll just go straight to take the presentation or speech from Yinka Edu. Yinka is the partner UUBO, and Yinka will be speaking on legal and regulatory outlook for fintech in 2022. Yes.
So thank you very much for having me. As has been said, I'm a lawyer. In terms of my practice, we advise a lot of fintechs in relation to regulation, in relation to licensing, and then also we're very active in the M&A space. So I'm just trying to run these slides. So you're going to get from me the lawyer's perspective in relation to the outlook for 2022. So, great. So what I have done is to look into the crystal ball and to make certain predictions for the year. Now, clearly, I'm a lawyer, so number one for me is regulation, 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 aka make sure you have a lawyer in 2022. I don't know how many people were tracking what was happening with the regulators in 2021, but certainly I think that their attitude to regulating this space has changed. I think that they are very much actively participating, anticipating the activities within the space. You know, as children, sometimes if you didn't want something to happen, you'll close your eyes and pretend it wasn't happening. I think the regulators have very much opened their eyes now, and we're going to see a lot of regulation. Regulation in 2021, I would say it was a bumper year for regulation. I'm just going to mention some of the regulations that the CBN brought into place, and that's sort of the end of 2020 to the beginning to 2021. And we saw things like PSB licensing, open banking, QR codes, the regulatory sandbox. They restructured the whole payments licensing sector. And then also something that was very telling is the Banking Act, the BOFIA, that came into force specifically mentioned fintechs and the regulation by the central bank. So certainly I think it triggers and signals a change in attitude, even where they felt that they were not regulating the space. So for example, in relation to cryptocurrency, they took other steps which had an impact on the space. So by saying that you can't operate banking services to crypto exchanges, they effectively were restricting that ability, even though they didn't specifically prohibit cryptocurrency. SEC was the same, the Securities and Exchange Commission. They had the start and stop in relation to cryptocurrency, initially indicating that they were going to start regulating that space, and then went quiet when later on. They had introduced regulations in relation to digital sub-brokers and actually made statements regarding some of the operations that were happening. They had new regulations on robo-advisors, crowdfunding, and they finally started their own incubation program, which is similar to the CBN's sandbox. So I think this year, a lot of regulations. I think you need to be ready for it. I'm happy that some of our other speakers have picked up on that. I certainly think that 2022, you need to be ready to be regulated. Another issue that was picked up is the focus on digital lending practices. I think Lauren mentioned that the issues, and I saw some of the questions, some of the issues that are coming up are interest rates, data protection, and also obviously collections. There's been a lot of drama around the collections and what's going on. And I know that it's terrible and it can actually get worse. My view is it can get worse. And so regulators are going to look into it. I had read somewhere many years ago about, in some other jurisdiction, not in Nigeria, where when people were looking to borrow from some of these unregulated lenders, they were asked to send naked photos of themselves. And if you didn't pay on time, then those photos were shared with everybody in all your contacts. So certainly it can get worse, but we